Hey guys, welcome back to Katie's Book Nook. My name is Katie, and I'm here today to talk about a book series that I devoured in the month of May. May was actually an awesome reading month for me. I read almost 10 books, I think. May ends today, so maybe I'll get another book in, who knows. But a lot of my reading this month was Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series. So I know I talk about Regency romance every once in a while on this channel, and I truly feel that Regency romance is like a balm for the soul. It is predictable, it is extremely tropey, but a lot of authors who write Regency romance have done their research and just write beautifully. And it's not earth-shattering writing, but it's definitely entertaining. It is heartwarming. Even the angst is just so well done. So I wanted to talk about this series today. So just a little heads up about the Bridgerton family. The books were written, I believe, in 2000 is when the series started. And it's about a family who is headed by Violet. She's the matriarch of the Bridgerton family. And her husband has passed away. But they have 8 kids. So she's kind of a youngish widow. I think she was about I want to say 36, 37 when her husband passes away. And each book in the series focuses on one of her children. So I'm going to just give a quick synopsis of the books, not go into too much detail. But I really encourage if you like Regency romance, if you haven't tried anything yet, this is a good place to start. Some of the Julia Quinn books have more, I guess, risque parts than others. Sometimes nothing scandalous happens until, you're 250 pages in. But I just really adore this series. So we start off with The Duke and I. Now, this is about the 4th child. Her name is Daphne Bridgerton. And, she is everyone's friend, but no one really looks at her to be a potential wife. And she falls in love with the Duke. So we start off with The Duke and I. And then it goes on to the eldest in the family, her older brother, Anthony Bridgerton, with the Viscount Who Loved Me. This one was very interesting in the fact that we learned more of the backstory of how the Bridgerton father passed away. And he falls in love with Kate Sheffield, and Kate is very logical and not typically, she's on the older side, so she's not one of the most beautiful flowers at the ball, if you will. So this one was entertaining, but there was some hokiness happening there, but overall very good. Now this one is about Benedict Bridgerton. He is the second oldest child and second son in the Bridgerton family, and this is an offer from a gentleman. This I really enjoyed. Benedict kind of is overshadowed in the first 2 books, and he falls in love with this girl at a masquerade ball, and it's almost like a Cinderella story, and I just like this very much. This is very well done, one of my favorites in the series. Then we have Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. This one I really loved. Colin is the third child in the Bridgerton family, and he's my favorite character. So he's mentioned in the first 3 books, but then by this book, this focuses on him. He's just very funny. He's always hungry. Julia Quinn, the best thing about her is that she gives all of her characters such a personality, and you really just grow to love them. So Colin gets involved with Penelope Featherington, and she is his sister's friend, and they've always been very friendly, but there's never really been anything else there before, and Penelope might have a secret of her own. Penelope is a great character as well. I will say that this series has awesome side characters. So there's Lady Danbury, who is this society matron, and she's just very quippy and very funny, and she kind of reminds me of the Dowager Countess of Grantham from Downton Abbey. So if you like her, you will like Lady Danbury as well. Also, the first couple of books, before the chapter starts, they have little snippets from Lady Whistledown's society papers. So it's like a gossip magazine at the time. They are so funny. They're so well done. So A+ for the first 4 books. Then we have To Sir Philip with Love. This is about Eloise Bridgerton. She comes after Daphne, so she is the 5th kid in the Bridgerton family, and this is another old maid story. So Eloise doesn't want to settle. She wants to fall in love, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. She loves writing letters to relatives and family members and friends and whatever. So she writes to Sir Philip, who is married to a distant cousin, and they kind of find an attachment there. And in the beginning of this book, there's like little snippets of the letters that she writes to people. Eloise is extremely likable. It's just a great story, and there's a couple of funny moments with her brothers, so I recommend this one as well. Then this is the least Bridgerton-y of all the Bridgerton books. This is When He Was Wicked. This is about Francesca Bridgerton. So she only makes like a tiny appearance in the other books in the series. She gets married very young, moves to Scotland, and her husband passes away suddenly. It's almost like he has an aneurysm or something very similar, and she is widowed at the age of, I believe she's widowed at the age of 24 or 25. So this is her reemergence into society. This takes on the love at first sight trope, but she kind of spins a little bit. And this one is very detailed with certain elements of the story, so if that's not your thing, this might not be the book for you. With Regency Romance series, they kind of are standalones, but they do touch on other family relationships as well. This one, if you weren't into the very detailed stuff, you could just read a synopsis and kind of grab what was happening in this story. So that's a little caveat. I know some of the subject matter isn't for everyone, so that just should be noted that they do kind of stand alone, but they touch back on the other books in the series. Then we have It's in His Kiss. Now this is Hyacinth Bridgerton, and she is the youngest of the Bridgerton family. Actually, Violet, the mom, was pregnant with Hyacinth when the dad passed away, so she never got to know her father, but she is a pip Hyacinth Bridgerton. She's very, very funny. She has an answer for everything. She's a perfectionist. I resonate very strongly with Hyacinth, and she is very good friends with Lady Danbury, who I mentioned earlier. Now, she forms an attachment to Gareth St. Clair, who is Lady Danbury's grandson, and they become very good friends, and he actually has a shady backstory as well. And then finally, the last book in the series was On the Way to the Wedding. I finished this like 2 days ago. This is Gregory Bridgerton. Now, this one is probably my least favorite in the series, but that being said, I really just loved all these books. Gregory is 12 when the series starts off, and then he's away at Eton, like at school. So he is absent for a lot of the other books, or he makes a very passing appearance. He's not really around. So I felt less familiar with this character, and that could be why it's my least favorite of all the books. But he's a hopeless romantic, which is kind of exciting because you don't really see guys being portrayed as that. And he falls in love at first sight and then realizes it's not going to work out. And it goes on from there. So this one is... like I said, not really my favorite, but it was a nice little capstone to the end of the series. Now, I have mixed editions here. So some of them, like this one, is the more recent printing. And then I have this one, which is like one of the original printings or without the update. But Julia Quinn ended up wrapping up all the stories, and she wrote The Bridgertons Happily Ever After, which includes an original short story with Violet. And then there's the second epilogue for each of these books. Now, all of the Bridgerton books have their own first initial epilogue that was written when the book was written, but this continues all of the stories. So this is just like a little extra, I guess, if you don't have the updated second epilogue editions. So overall, what I love, again, about these types of books is that they're always happy. Sometimes the real world, there's a lot of sadness going on, and I like to be challenged when I read, and I love literary fiction, and I love classics. But romance novels such as these allow me to get into the time period without having to really think too hard. The way that the information is presented is just so well done, and I really encourage you, if you are thinking about starting romance and you like historical fiction, the Bridgerton series is really the way to go. Now, when it comes to rating these books, what I normally do with with the romance books, the baseline is 3. So if I really love a book, sometimes I'll give it a 4 on Goodreads, or if it's awful, I'll give it a 2 or a 1. But generally speaking, I give them 3s because I like them. I'll go back to them, but my world was not shattered because of them. So that's, if you follow me on Goodreads and you're like, oh, she only gave them 3 stars, that's not a bad thing. That means that I really enjoyed it. Did not love it. My world was not shifted on its axis, but, it was good. So, yeah, that's all I have for today. If you have any questions about the Bridgerton series, if you've read them before, if you have any recommendations for me, please let me know, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye.